Hello and welcome to Glasgow Rangers Nation with me, your host, Owen, the channel that brings you your team every single day. Yes, guys, we are here to talk a little bit about, obviously, the story that is developing around Kieran Dowell. A number of media outlets reporting on Kieran and his future at the club. But not only that, obviously, a little bit of a look ahead to tomorrow night's game at Ibrox in the Europa League against Aris Limassol. So let's start off with that Kieran Dowell news. Now, Kieran Dowell obviously came to the club in the summer. He was a free transfer. And our contract player, in fact, he was actually announced, wasn't he, before the end of last season. I remember him being unveiled and announced at the Hearts game, the end of where we said goodbye to Alfie, to Ryan Kent, to Helander, to Griegsy, to Buff, to all those guys, and we said goodbye to them all. And at the same time, we said hello to Kieran Dowell, and there was aspirations and hopes that Dowell would go on to be a good member of this squad and a useful member of this squad. And there were certainly reports, from a number of outlets that Norwich fans were more disappointed with the loss of Dowell than they were with the loss of Cantwell, that they rated Kieran Dowell higher than they rated Todd Cantwell. So, obviously Kieran came in with very high expectations, and during pre-season, he looked a good player. I just had a quick drink there, clear my throat. Yeah, he looked a good player. He liked to tackle. He could play a pass. He liked to get forward. He looked a very, very talented, individual, and certainly someone who we felt could be useful this coming season. But Dowell has been out injured an awful lot, has missed an awful lot of football. Again, he obviously was coming back from that awful knee injury that he sustained last season that kept him out of the Norwich game. And obviously, when you come back from an injury, you do take longer to get back to match fitness, and also the fact that you then are perhaps a little bit more susceptible to injuries in the future, with the weaknesses been in certain places around that knee, and that's certainly, where Kieran has suffered this year. I mean, Kieran has made 3 Premiership appearances, scored 1 goal. I think that was the Livingston game, I think, where he scored. Maybe. Or was it? I think it could have been. He's only had 8% starting 11s. He's only featured in 6% of the minutes this season. And he's also only had a 4% goal participation this season. He made appearances in 3 Champions League games and 1 League Cup game. Dowell certainly, since Clement has come in, has hardly featured at all, has hardly been part of the squad. Now, I know part of that is down to the fact that he's been out injured, but even now that he's returned, he got a few minutes the other day. But other than that, he wasn't in the squad. Now, what was interesting was on Sunday against Aberdeen, Cifuentes got the nod to start alongside Lundstram, where some felt, including myself, that it was a good opportunity to give Kieran Dowell a game. Dowell has that physical side of his game a little bit more perhaps than Cifuentes, slightly better range of passing, has obviously scored at this level, and has perhaps got a bit more use to the Scottish game. However, Dowell wasn't even in the matchday squad. Now, he isn't injured, apparently. He's not suffering from any injury or any lasting effects of any recently sustained injury. So, though, it does beg the question that why was he not included in the matchday squad? It does ask, when you look at that bench and you look at the fact there was no central midfield players on that bench at all, Dowell is a natural central midfield player. He can also play wide, yes, but his primary position is to play attacking midfield or centre midfield. He can also play in defensive midfield. He can play any of those central midfield positions. Yet Clement still did not use him. And he wasn't even on the bench. He wasn't even part of the matchday squad, which is, certainly raised questions and a few eyebrows amongst a number of Rangers fans asking, was he injured again? What was the problem with him? Why was he missing again? And it seems, like I said, that it isn't that he was injured. It's just that Philippe Clement decided not to include him in the squad. Now, this is kind of, I think, leading to these reports that are now currently coming out of the club that Philippe Clement does not fancy Dowell, does not think Dowell is up to the task, thinks that, Dowell could be an asset that we can get rid of in January. Now, this is certainly a very interesting report, and it's been, like I said, it's been reported on a number of sites that have run with this story. Now, there's also rumours as well, or reports, obviously, I prefer reports to rumours, that Kieran Dowell has told his agent to start working on finding him a new club, preferably in England. The fact that even Michael Beale, who was the man who brought him north of the border, didn't even really use him as well. There's a lot of talk as well that people don't feel that he's actually good enough to play for Rangers, that he's more a sort of a mid-level championship player and certainly not someone that we should be, using in our squad. So, look, it's an interesting one, certainly, and it's a story that's going to run, I think, until January. Or until, Clermont perhaps uses Dowell on a more regular basis, which, I can't see happening once Ryan Jack returns from injury, as well, with the fact Nico Raskin is due to come back as well. It's going to push Dowell even further down the pecking order. So I really can't see Dowell featuring at all. And I think there could be some legs in this story that he is going to be got rid of in January, but certainly very interesting indeed as regards Kieran Dowell. Personal opinion, I think, that if we don't need him, free up the wages, get a little bit of money for him, reinvest in the squad. I honestly think that in terms of that central midfield position, we've got a number of players coming up through the system as well who could, I think, feature. I would love to see Bailey Rice given his opportunity. I really do rate that kid very, very highly. I would love to see Bailey given a chance to start. Cole McKinnon as well, good players, both decent kids who can do a good job. We've seen, with Ross McCausland, what happens when you give these young players the opportunity to impress. They tend to take it with both. Zach Lovelace did as well in that St Mirren game before he was unfortunately injured. So look, I would love to see them, and if that means that Dowell is on his way out, well, so be it. We free up some wages and we make some money from it. Well, obviously the thoughts start to turn to Thursday night. Yes, another Rangers Thursday night. Yes, another European night under the lights at Ibrox as Rangers entertain Aris Limassol, and a bit of revenge is needed. We certainly owe them one, don't we? After that debacle in Limassol where we lost 2-1, in pretty shameful circumstances, in what was probably one of the worst performances from a Rangers team in recent memory. Absolutely awful display from the team, wasn't there? And I think they really did let Stephen Davis down that night. So there is, I think, a need to kind of get back onto that, get that revenge there. But not only because of that, but also because if you look at the group, the way the group is balanced, Rangers obviously 3 points clear of Sparta Prague after that victory over Prague at Ibrox last time out. Only 2 points behind Betis. Betis, of course, travelled to Prague this Thursday match day. Now, that could end either way. Now, Betis have been one of the stronger teams in this group. Their only defeat was against Rangers at Ibrox, but we know from our own experience how difficult it is to go to Prague, to get a result in Prague. It is a difficult place to go. Certainly we got that draw there. It could have easily gone the other way. So it will be a tough game between Prague and Betis. A draw perhaps would be a good result for Rangers, because if that happens, obviously, the fact that we win, we can if we then beat Limassol, it basically means that it will mean that we have qualified from this group, and there will be football after Christmas in the Europa League. I certainly wouldn't want to finish third. I certainly don't want to go into the Conference League. Conference League for me is an utter joke. I don't want to play in it. But it would give us the opportunity to play, like I said, European football after Christmas, and that is something we've got to be aiming for. Also, the fact as well, it's about making that Betis game in Seville actually mean something, that it is a shootout for the top of the group to be top of the table. And I think that's certainly something we should be aiming at. And, hopefully we can inflict that second defeat, do the double over Betis, send a bit of a signal in this competition that we are to be taken seriously again. And, that's I think, what we need to be aiming at. But we are getting ahead of ourselves talking like that, aren't we? The focus has to be on tomorrow night, on Thursday night at Ibrox against Aris. Now, look, Connor Goldson will be missing. Some people would say that's good news because of the fact that he was so dreadful in the Aberdeen game. And, obviously I spoke about, the whole Goldson situation on the video yesterday that we released here on the channel. If you haven't checked it out, please go and check it out. Talking about, is it a mentality problem or is it a skill problem at the club that's holding us back in those big games? So Connor will be missing. Now, if John Souttar's fit, then Souttar obviously is more likely to start at that right side of defence. But then if he isn't, is that going to go to Leon King? Is Leon King going to be forced to start? I would love to see Leon King get another opportunity. I think he's a good kid. He's a hard worker. He's a decent defender, a very good prospect. There's a number of upcoming young players coming up in the defensive areas. So I think, well worth an opportunity. Robbie Fraser, for example, John Lee Fecco, and obviously as well Leon King. So there is a number of young players who I'd love to see given that chance. And Philippe Clermont has always said, that he will give the young players the opportunity. But, realistically, what I'd prefer is John Souttar to be fit, suited to start at right side centre back. Left side, I think, will have to be Ben Davies due to the the fact that Balogun isn't in the European squad. Thank you, Michael Beale, for that. At this stage, I'm not actually going to. I will talk about a team tomorrow on Thursday morning, before the game in the news video, because I want to know. I want to see Pitfleet come on press conference. I want to see who's fit, who's available for this game before actually going out and saying it's going to be this team here. I mean, early thoughts are if people are fit and people are good to go, you go with Butland and Golf, obviously reasons. Tavernier, Suter, Davis, and Borna Barisic, only because Barisic is the only left back we have on the European squad. I would prefer Ridvan to be playing. Ridvan is a better player than Borna. Lundstrom and Jack will start in that central defence if Jack is fit. And then I would like to see us shake it up a bit in that three behind the striker. Obviously, the striker has to be Danilo. He's the only decent striker we've got at the club at this moment in time who is fit. And three behind him, I'd like to see McCausland get the start on the right, Lawrence as the 10 and Seamer as the left winger. Go with McCausland. Give him the chance to terrorise this Aris defence. These Aris players are not great players. Yes, they beat us in Limassol, but they shouldn't have done. At the end of the day, this is not a great team we're going up against. Get McCausland to get at them and really terrify them. I think he can. Seamer as well. Get service into Lawrence. Get service into Danilo. And I think we'll win the game quite comfortably. We will, of course, look ahead properly to this game on Thursday morning. Well, guys, let me know what you think of the Kieran Dowell situation. Let me obviously know your early thoughts on the Aris Limassol game coming up on Thursday night. Thank you so much for watching Glasgow Rangers Nation this morning, or this afternoon, or this evening, depending on when you've picked up this video. Keep looking out for content through the day. If there's anything else breaks or anything else I kind of want to talk about with the club, I always try and release another video as well, so a couple of videos a day. So please obviously check them out, continue to check it out, and obviously like them as well. If you haven't yet subscribed, come and join the over 3,800 others who've already done that. My aim, like I said, is to grow this channel. Look, I'd love to be as big as CJ Novo. CJ Novo is a big hero of mine. Love CJ Novo. Love the way he presents. Love his videos. Would love to be like him one day. That's my aspiration anyway. So on the way out, guys, two things I always need from you. Number one, smash the like. And number two, remember always, please, we are the people.